Good morning. How's it going? So I wanted to go ahead and play the role of media analyst today. This right here uh, is Speaker Pelosi's first presser interview for the new Congress. So she is the new Speaker of the House. Um, Congratulations. So let's see how this goes. Um, I have a concept on top of this YouTube channel. The concept is Prometheus Analytics and Solutions, quote unquote, because principles matter. And the idea is basically that solutions should fuel the economy. So imagine a um, world where there weren't problems and chaos and destruction for profit, but better yet, solutions. So here, let's see what she has to say.
Our appropriators are going to join us. Good evening. We're here with our distinguished House Democratic leader, Mr. Hoyer, our distinguished chair of the Appropriations Committee, Nita Lowy, and our chair of the Government Homeland Security Subcommittee of the Appropriations Committee, Congresswoman Lucille Gordon-Allard. Okay. I didn't know Mr. Clyburn had come from the chair. We, as you are aware, we are diligent and persistent in trying to open up government. As I said today,
And we'll start pausing right there. So, they're diligent, they're persistent in opening government, but not in protecting American citizens, not in building our border wall. So, if you haven't looked at the news, basically, an officer was murdered by an illegal immigrant, and this officer just so happened to be a legal immigrant from Fiji. I believe his name was Officer Singh. So, that's something to keep in mind as we begin listening to this, and I'll continue to analyze.
On the floor, we will take ideas, good ideas from wherever they come, including the idea of the appropriations bills passed by the Republicans in the United States Senate. They passed 6 bills, 4 of them on the floor with over 90 votes, 2 of them in committee unanimously. And those 6 bills cover 8 agencies, departments of government that could be opened just by the stroke of the pen of the President of the United States. Separate from that, we are sending what the Senate also passed, which is a bill to have a continuing resolution until February 8th, taking their exact date from the Senate. That would cover Homeland Security and give us the weeks needed to negotiate an agreement to open up government in that department.
Now, as we're listening to her ideas that she's putting out there, I can be fair. I can take the politics out of it, and just see, okay, is this a solution, whatever. But let's keep in mind, President Trump sacrificed his holidays trying to compromise with the Democrats. And the Democrats basically gave they basically gave him a double middle finger and said, "Screw you and screw the American people." They all went on vacation in their and Nancy Pelosi, I think she was in some lavish, what was it, $10,000 a night hotel in Hawaii. So just listening right here, right now, it sounds like political grandstanding because if she truly cared about the country, not even politics, but the country, um, she wouldn't have put a luxurious vacation over the needs of the American people. And then we also have to remember that despite what they may have said in the past, and I think Chuck Schumer may have said this, but as much as they're for a border wall, now that President Trump is in office, No, they will not have a border wall. So keep in mind, people are dying over this incident. People are definitely getting hurt. Drugs are being trafficked in, human trafficking, sex trafficking, children are being trafficked. So I'm really left puzzled with what she has to say, but I'll try to put that aside and listen.
Again, we've taken word for word, and I'm going to yield in a moment after Mr. Hoyer to our distinguished chair of the Appropriations Committee to demonstrate how purely Republican and senatorial these measures were. And so we've separated it out. There are two votes. One on the 8 departments of government that could be open now to meet the needs of the American people. To meet the needs of the American people.
Non-essential government
to protect
employees.
our borders and to protect our workers. And again, the other bill is mostly about protecting
800,000
so,
non-essential.
in that spirit, I want to yield to our distinguished Democratic leader of the House, Mr. Hoyer, to talk about the need for us to open up government.
Thank you very much, and congratulations, Madam Speaker, on your re-election. We're here late tonight, later than you would usually expect the Congress to be here on opening day. People obviously have things to do. They have family in town. But we're here because we sense the urgency of opening up the people's government so that they can be served by the agencies of government on which they rely. And so that 800,000 people who have been put at risk, who are worrying about whether they're going to get a paycheck next week, who are going to be worried about whether they're going to be able to pay a mortgage, whether they're going to be able to pay their car payment or their child's school payment. That's why we're here.
Analyzing this, I feel as though it's just more political grandstanding because I will repeat, President Trump sat at the White House waiting, sacrificed his holidays trying to compromise with the Democrats. Where were they then? Where were they then? While they were out there celebrating in their luxury, like the elitists love to do, looking down at their noses at the American people. Now it's just too little too late, in my opinion.
To open up government. And why? What have we done? As the Speaker just indicated, we have taken 6 bills that the Senate has passed almost unanimously. Passed unanimously out of their committee. Republicans and Democrats joined together, so we have agreement on these 6 bills. Nobody's arguing about the 6 bills. They're not arguing at the White House. They're not arguing here. We have agreement. One would surely think that if we pass that, as I expect we're going to do, that the Senate would pass it, send to the President, he would sign it, because there's no disagreement. Now, there is a disagreement on the Homeland Security bill. So we have said, okay, we haven't reached agreement, but we're going to provide some more time so we can sit down as adults, hopefully, as rational, reasonable, common sense people, and come to an agreement on something that we all agree with. The objective of keeping Americans safe, keeping our country safe, and keeping our borders secure is not in debate. The only thing that's in debate are the means. We don't agree with the president's proposal. We don't think it's the proper or most effective, efficient means to keep our country safe. So
the Democrats disagree with the president, but Border Patrol agents themselves have specifically stated that they need a wall, that a border wall will benefit them. So now, as much as the Democrats want to bring the president into it, what they're actually doing is they are now attacking our Border Patrol agents by denying what they have specifically said that they need and intentionally putting them in harm's way. Remember, these people are intentionally putting the lives and the safety of our Border Patrol agents at risk. over this political grandstanding.
We're saying, okay, we'll do what Senator McConnell did. We'll give us till February 8th, approximately 4 weeks, to come together and discuss this issue without shutting down government, without putting 800,000 people at risk, without inconveniencing and putting at risk millions and millions of Americans who rely on the operations of government. So we're hopefully going to pass that bill today as well. And I hope that Senator McConnell will put it on the floor. I hope the senators will vote for it and send it down to the president. The president has asked us to come down to meet tomorrow at 10:30. And we will do that. And we'll have a discussion. At 11:30? Excuse me, 11:30. This is going to be the news, I'm sure. The fact of the matter is, we'll go down there, we'll talk, and Chair Lowy and Chair Lucille Roybal Allard are reasonable people. And we'll try to come to an agreement on which we can all agree. But holding 800,000 people hostage, holding the people's government hostage, is not what they expect, not what they want. So hopefully, Senator McConnell will put that bill on the floor tonight or tomorrow, send it to the president, and we will open up the people's government and then continue to do the people's business. I'll yield to the.
So I know I'm pausing a lot, but I think this is really important to say. They keep speaking about holding the American people, the government hostage, 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 hostage. So, in my opinion, they're gaslighting. They're deflecting what they're doing, or attempting to deflect what they're doing onto President Trump. Because look, if we want to go into this like morality test, I'd rather, if I was personally working for government, I'd rather lose a paycheck than to have people being murdered, have children being raped, have all these illegal immigrants crossing in, putting themselves into harm's way in order to come into America. So I'm sorry. I'd rather not have dead officers. I'd rather not have dead Border Patrol agents. I don't want them, even if they don't die, I don't want them losing their fingers or limbs. I don't want them having gashes because of thrown stones. I don't want them having their bones fractured, broken. But these very people are saying, oh, they're holding the workers hostage.
Chair of the Appropriations Committee, Nita Lowy of New York.
The message is very simple. This is the first time in history that a government has been shut down while our new electors have assumed responsibility. I want to say that again because this is the first time in history that there has been a shutdown of government as we welcome new leaders and we want to work together to govern responsibly. As we came up with this plan, we didn't dream up a plan from the right, the left, the center. We just sat together and said, there are 6 bills that were passed by the Senate, some by the full Senate, some by the committees, but it was unanimous. So we thought, if we want to open government and not have a shutdown, let's take that bill, those 6 bills, pass them here, and then give everybody a month to work on differences in the Homeland Security bill. This isn't very complicated. We could all talk and give you details, but I want to emphasize again, we got together, we met with our leadership and said, how do we keep this government open to serve the people? 800,000 federal workers, people on the border, many industries now that depend on federal employees. This is irrational. So today is an exciting day. We have elected a new great first woman speaker of the United States of America. Let's open the government and let's get to work because we have a plan.
Analyzing this part, I think it's just very, and this is just my opinion, I think it's just very disrespectful. You know, how so many of these people obsess over sex, woman this, woman that, woman this, you know, and they don't really put so much the ideas on the plate. You know, I don't care if somebody, personally, I wouldn't care if somebody's white, black, brown, Asian, man or a woman. What I would care about most is what do they have to bring to the table? What ideas can they bring? Um, so I don't know. That's just my personal take on that. But you know, lately in politics and I guess culture or whatever, there's just such this hyper laser focus on you know what I would regard as sexism, you know, and race based politics. You know, it's not about the sex of the person. It's not about the race of the person. It should be about the ideas and their actions. You see what I'm saying? And their integrity. But whatever, I digress.
And that makes sense. And I'm hoping, upon reconsideration, it will make sense to the President of the United States, unless he just wants to keep tweeting and wants the government closed. But you can't be a leader of this great nation and continue to shut the government down.
Well, at the risk of being repetitive, um, one of our primary responsibility as we start this new Congress is to reopen the government. And as you know, the biggest obstacle to doing that has been the bill that funds the Department of Homeland Security. So it only makes sense, as has been stated, that we pass the 6 bills that have bipartisan support and then do a short-term continuing resolution for the Department of Homeland Security so that we have the opportunity not only to negotiate, but to actually get more up-to-date and accurate information as to what is needed by the department, such as the Border Patrol, in being able to address the health needs of children who are coming across the border, because we all are perfectly aware of the tragedy of the death of the 2 children. And so they are preparing that information for us now. And this time period will give us that opportunity to get that information. But I just want to make one other point, because sometimes the discussion seems to center between, well, the Democrats, they don't want a wall, and the president does, and why can't, they just put that aside, give them some money for the wall, and move forward. The answer is that there are real national security issues that will be negatively impacted if we were to do that.
Are you serious? There are negative national securities issues that will be negatively impacted if we fund the border wall. Okay, look. Many of these so-called parents or coyotes, human smugglers, already know that by using children, that it is easier for them to get away with sneaking into our country. So, talk about the children all you want. By refusing to build the border wall, you are putting those same children you claim to care about at the highest possible risk. And if you hear that noise in the background, I apologize. I have some helicopter flying in circles above me. I think it's a news helicopter, like literally rotating above me in my apartment. So That's probably not going to stop.
But let's just say, even if we wanted and agreed on a wall, we still could not set aside billions of dollars and still meet the national security needs that we have here in the homeland. And let me just give you a couple of examples. Right now, we need more customs agents because there are not enough to monitor and to be able to detect the opioids and all the contraband that is coming through the ports of entry. Contrary to what the president will have you say, they are coming through the ports of entry, not between the ports of entry where the proposed wall would be built. We also need to provide the funds needed by the Coast Guard for a heavy icebreaker, which the last one was in the 1970s. And there are times when there is no U.S. presence in the Arctic. And with the melting of the ice, Russia, who has 40 or more icebreakers there, about 4 or 5 are heavy icebreakers, and China and other countries are starting to move into that region to be able to claim the rich resources that are there.
Okay, so pausing it right here. There seems to be an obsession on wanting to fund more manpower over a border wall. Now, if it's really simple, you do not have to feed a border wall. You do not have to give water to a border wall. Nor does a border wall have to expend energy in order to do its job. So the border wall, in and of itself, is once it's built, it's finished, it serves its purpose, and there's minimal upkeep. The Border Patrol agents, yes, it would help if they have more manpower, but really, what is the most effective? It's so simple. The border wall is more effective than having more manpower, which you're going to have to constantly equip with new tools. And like I said, give them food and water and the likes. Oh, and another thing, in the border wall, I believe Israel has a border wall, and apparently it's 99% effective. So this is very disingenuous, just in my opinion.
They are taking the lead on that. So there is a lot more at risk. It isn't just a question of do we want a border wall or we don't. By providing the kinds of money that the president is asking for, is going to jeopardize our national security because we will not be able to meet the funding needs necessary to protect our homeland. And I could give you a whole list of the responsibilities that the Department of Homeland Security has. It isn't just the border. It's drug trafficking. It's protecting our air and land and sea, our infrastructure. They have a whole series of responsibilities that would not be funded by providing billions of dollars for that border wall. And so what the Speaker and our Chair and Majority Leader are proposing is reasonable. It's something that is supported both by Republicans and Democrats and those 6 bills, and a short-term Department of Homeland Security continuing resolution that will enable us to continue to work with the president, who I hope will put aside his campaign promise about building a wall and look at the realistic needs that we have in terms of our national security and work with us to make sure that those national securities are met to protect our homeland.
Okay, cool. I heard everything pretty much that was said. But the thing is, the border wall is important. It is a campaign promise from Trump. It's a huge reason on how he won. His base fully supports the border wall. And never ever forget, if you truly care, then you must listen to the expertise of the Border Patrol themselves, who are specifically requesting a border wall. This is a matter of safety for our Border Patrol agents and also the safety of whomever may be trying to cross over, illegal or legal, into our country. So you care about safety? Prove it. Build the wall.
Our distinguished whip, since there's a book now, is no longer presiding in the chair, has joined us.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think that all of us are aware of exactly what the proposal is that the Democrats have made to the White House. And basically, the foundation upon which that is made is the fact that we ought to be able to carry on our debate over the wall, over security, while government continues to operate on behalf of the American people. It's a simple proposition. The 6+1 that has been proposed does that, and it allows for us to have legitimate debate on how to go forward with border security and whether or not to build a wall. I see very little morality in visiting misery among families, keeping uncertainty in our governmental structure while we carry out this debate.
Now, I'm just going to say this, and this is my personal opinion. I'm always open to debate, always open to discussion, and I'm always willing to be wrong. See, that's the difference between me and other people. I don't mind admitting if I'm wrong, but right here, this is how I see it, personally. Right now, they're sending up Mr. Black Man trying to basically push this morality test. So they said, okay, we need a black man. Let's get this black man. All right, come here, Mr. Black Man. And they're going to have him push this whole morals appeal. But it's very disingenuous, in my personal opinion, because as soon as I heard whether or not we should build a wall, I'm instantly thinking about all those people who are in harm's way and possibly getting hurt right this second, if not killed. But then, hey, morality, right? Last time I checked, in my Holy Bible, because principles matter, in my Holy Bible, I thought protecting life, protecting people from getting hurt was kind of tied into morality. But hey, I don't know what I'm talking about because I guess I'm just too young. I'm only 28 years old, and these guys are older than me, and they know it all, right?
We can do both things and do it in a way that the American people, I think, will be pleased with us as their legislative representatives here in the Congress. So I would hope that after we pass this legislation that we're going to pass, that the Senate will act promptly and send it to the President, and hopefully we ought to do this within the next day or two so that the American people can begin to go on with their lives with some degree of certainty and stability.
I appreciate that. I just want to add one thing. What we're asking the Republicans in the Senate to do is to take yes for an answer. We are sending them back exactly, word for word, what they have passed, whether it's to cover the 8 agencies of government, and exactly what they passed in a continuing resolution until February 8th. Why would they not do that? Is it because the president won't sign it?
Hey, that's an excellent question, Pelosi. Okay, well, I mean, president signing it, not signing it, possibly, right? Just to be fair. But once you go on vacation and you give a double middle finger to the American people and say, screw y'all, we are not going to sacrifice our luxury, our holidays, like the president did. We're going to go ahead and we're going to let these people get hurt. We're going to let these children get raped. We're going to let these drugs come in and destroy entire communities and families involved. Screw y'all. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe that might be part of the reason, because if you forget about, let's say if we forget about the politics of the situation, and the Congress people and stuff, what about the American people? Like, there are a lot of American people that saw what y'all are doing. They saw when y'all were talking about the border wall and how you so-called supported it before President Trump. But now that it's President Trump, it cannot possibly happen. And on top of that, really? Y'all take a vacation. The president doesn't. Y'all have a salary. The president does not have a salary. But it is so disingenuous. The words don't back up their actions.
Did they not hear about the division, co-equal branch of government, and that the Congress sends the president legislation, and he can choose to sign or not. But to choose to keep government shut down by rejecting what the Republicans themselves had written, not us, that the Republicans themselves have written. So there's something very wrong with this picture. It can't possibly be that the president is saying, I will never sign what the Republicans in the Senate have written. There's something very negative about the role of government meeting the people's needs and doing so in a timely fashion, because when government is shut down, it's billions of dollars of cost to the economy, not just for public employees and meeting their needs. It's about the economy that is affected by it. Ask any cab driver, luncheonette, or whatever when they see their receipts turned down. So we're just saying to the Senate, we didn't alter any language. We just are sending you what you have passed. Take yes for an answer. Open up government. Give us a month for us to negotiate what this package could be to protect our borders, because border security is a priority that we all have. It's a responsibility that we have to take an oath to protect and defend. So that you can't say if you're not for the wall, you're not for border security. That is a very false statement. So we're just saying it.
So now you're calling our Border Patrol agents liars. The very people that are on the front line, in harm's way, taken away from the president, the Republicans. Now you have attacked our Border Patrol agents. And this is the Democrat Party. The party of abolish ICE.
Let's make it easy for you. Do what you have already done. Open up government. Let's have an adult conversation about how we protect our borders. And let's listen to people who know what they're talking about, like Congresswoman Madam Chair Lucille Allard, about what the opportunity cost is of spending $1 billion on a wall.
Madam Speaker, at some point do you have to give the president what he wants, if only because there are hundreds of thousands of federal workers who can't afford to go without a paycheck
The
anymore?
president cannot hold public employees hostage because he wants to have a wall that is not effective in terms of its purpose, not cost effective in terms of what opportunity cost it is of federal dollars to spend. And the president has said Mexico is going to pay for this. Come on, let's anchor ourselves into reality.
So now, basically, they're attacking the president, saying that, oh, he's living in some false reality, he's living in a fantasy. But these are the same people that they can find billions of dollars to aid all these other countries. The same party that could find, I think, what was it, $150 billion for the Iran deal. But they can't find a measly, what is it, 0.01 or 0.05% of the federal budget. They can't find only a mere $5.6 billion to fund the wall. So, political grandstanding, in my personal opinion, open for debate, discussion, but this is just a load of BS.
Mexico is not going to pay for this wall. So no.
Speaker Pelosi, thank you. What about, Mitch McConnell said just this afternoon, he said, let's not get off on the wrong foot with House Democrats. He's essentially portraying these two bills tonight as messaging bills. Do you view that as him trying to set up the House as a foil? So he can say, wait a minute, they're just off.
You're going to have to ask him.
Is there any situation in which you would accept even $1 of wall funding for this president in order to reopen the government?
$1? $1. $1? Yeah, $1.
So how high would you be willing to go? Are you willing to go?
No.
Are you
You
willing
said
to spend?
$1. You said $1.
How high are you willing to go?
Well, that's not your question. You said $1. I'm
My
answering your
follow-up
question.
question.
I'm sorry, y'all, this isn't funny. They're all, ha 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 ha. Oh, this is hilarious. That's the funniest joke in the whole world. Let's play it on Saturday Night Live. It's so funny. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Look, y'all, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. People are getting hurt in the process. So y'all, you just had this whole giant speech about holding America hostage. You have this whole giant speech talking about the safety and this, that, opportunity cost, but yet and still, when it spoke about, oh, would you even give $1 for the border wall? Now everybody's ha 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 ha. Really? I mean, at least be consistent. At least be consistent. It's not complicated. If we're in an apocalypse and the world's about to end and Americans are being held hostage and people are dying all over the place, if that is your message, if that is your appeal, don't just flip the switch and then turn around and then have, like, ha 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 ha. Really? It's so disingenuous.
Wants to cut a
A
deal.
wall is an immorality. It's not who we are as a nation. And this is not a wall between Mexico and the United States that the president is creating here. It's a wall between reality and his constituents, his supporters. He does not want them to know what he's doing to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security in his budget proposal. He does not want them to know what he's doing to clean air and clean water and the rest in his Department of Interior and of EPA. He does not want them to know how he is hurting them, so he keeps the subject on the wall. He's a master of diversion. We're trying to open up government. We're giving him a mature path to do so, not in our language, but in the Senate language. I'm just going to take one more question.
Last question in this body where leaders at both ends of.
If President Trump doesn't want nobody to know about this, that, and the third, then you had your moment right there during that press conference to give specifics. She gave no specific examples.
Pennsylvania, we're willing to put country above party. Vice President Pence came up here just before Christmas and made a deal on the wall, offered a deal on the wall to Senator Schumer, in which he more than halved what the president was requiring, more than $5.7 billion. He had it down to $2.1 billion. You rejected it out of hand.
No, I didn't reject it out of hand. He didn't make it to me, but before his wheels were even up off the Capitol, the White House was saying, we reject that. We're not going below $5 billion. So, I mean, if you want to tell that story, tell the whole story. The White House immediately said, now they're saying $5.6 billion. So they weren't.
Yeah, Nancy, if you want to tell that story that Trump doesn't want us to know about this, that, tell the whole story, Nancy. Tell the whole story by giving specific examples where President Trump doesn't want us, the American people, to know about this, that, and the third, since you say that the border wall is some master deflection technique.
Even on the level with the vice president's offer that he made. And so if you want to, again, say something about it, go to them and say, why don't you stick with what you offer? The president said on January 9th, 2017, in the White House, in public view, many of you were in that, none of you were, but your affiliates were in that room. And he said to the senators, this is what I want, bring it to me in bipartisan way and I'll sign it. He said that publicly, and then he walked away from it. He had a meeting with Chuck Schumer and me on the subject of the dreamers. He said he would do this or that, and then he walked away from it. So understand this, you can't have an agreement that people are going to walk away from, and that is what they did time and time again.
Over each other. You're not negotiating in any
We're
way.
not doing a wall. Does anybody have any doubt that we're not doing a wall? So that's
Are you
it.
worried about backlash? Are you worried about backlash?
If we're not doing a wall, then why did you agree to fund $1? By agreeing to fund $1, albeit not much will be accomplished from it, you have bound yourself by your words in an agreement that you were going to fund a wall. Or, if that not be the case, then you have exposed yourself by proving to everybody that you think that the safety of the American people, the Border Patrol agents, and even the illegal immigrants who are going on this dangerous voyage to cross over, it's all just a joke to you. Pick one, Nancy.
Backlash?
No, it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the wall is an immorality between countries. It's an old way of thinking. It isn't cost effective. And the fact is, as Congresswoman Allard said, there are things we could be doing at the ports of entry. First of all, if you want infrastructure, we need more infrastructure at the ports of entry. If you want to detect drugs, as we all do, then there is a technology that can scan these cars coming through. We're spending about $40 million. We should be spending about $300 million to do that. And that's by the Border Control people's own numbers. So there's so many things that we can be doing to maintain who we are as a country. You don't live on the border, maybe some of you do. It's a community with a border going through it. And if they're saying that these drugs and this or that are largely coming through the ports of entry, beef up the ports of entry to do that. But there's no reason. The wall, in my view, is an immorality. It is, again, a waste of money and opportunity cost to protect the American.
Beefing up the port of entry will not help very much because the illegals who are crossing over are not targeting entering through ports of entry. So you're saying basically throw all the money into the areas of our border that many illegals specifically, intentionally avoid in the first place. Deflection.
People. But it is a diversionary tactic on the part of the president. And now he wants to use the shutdown of government as taking these public employees, and not only them, but the people who are served by them, hostage to his wall. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, so there it is right there. I analyzed that specific part of media, and I have to say, I'm not very surprised. So feel free, leave a comment. If you have any questions, please ask in the comment section. I'm always open to discussion. I'm always open to admit, hey, I'm wrong. And please like the video, subscribe, anything else. I'm just getting started. You could donate to my PayPal. I actually intend to continue doing this. And remember, my model, we'll call it a business model, my idea, my model for this entire approach is principles matter and solutions, not problems, solutions should fuel the economy. And yes, I use my Holy Bible to help me. Corny, but it works. So, God bless you all. Have a good day. I can't wait to post this all over the place.